Alright, y'all, today we're going to be playing some splashyard against some Midladder Menace decks, and mostly Midladder Menace cards like Mega Knight, Hog Rider, P.E.K.K.A., all those. This is the deck that I'll be running. Notice I am using the Goblin Cage. I'm using it instead of the Tombstone, which is what you would regularly use in splashyard, because it helps take out these tanks with the Evo, and it also is more resistant to Earthquake, and you see quite a bit of Hog Earthquake in Midladder. Also, this deck is just really good at defeating big pushes with the NATO, the Ice Wizard, the Knight, the Bar Barrel, and the Baby Dragon, and then turning those pushes into counter pushes that you can use with your leftover defending troops via the graveyard. Let's get into it. So the first game here is up against Recruits, but as you know, it's mid-ladder, so of course he has to be doing a little something. So he's gonna go for Piggies, and we Ice Wizard. I kind of missed the NATO here, I'm not gonna lie. It gets only one Piggy on the King Tower, but it's not that big of a deal considering we do still take like less than 1,000 damage, so it's not that bad. We go Knight in front of the King Tower here, just to that Knight clashing with our Knight on our side of the field. And he goes for his P.E.K.K.A. because, you know, it's mid-ladder, so we get the Goblin Cage, cycle into the Evo, so we have it in store for his next P.E.K.K.A. if we need it. He goes with Gang. It's just some random, like, these decks are so weird. Oh, man, honestly. But with good defense, you should be able to win it. So we just NATO the Piggies. We kind of get all three on that left side there, which would help even out the damage, but not that big of a deal. He decides to defend our Ice Wizard with a Knight, which is fine. We just do it again what we did before. I'm kind of thinking he might P.E.K.K.A. here. He doesn't. Right here, just a Baby Dragon in the back to prepare to defend his Recruits, because he's got splash damage, so does the Ice Wizard. Poisoning the Recruits also could have been a decent play, as it essentially kills them. They get like a fourth of their health left at the end of the poison, so it's not that big of a deal. We go for a Graveyard here, and I'm assuming he's going to P.E.K.K.A., which he does, so I just NATO it to the tower. So my Baby Dragon can splash on the tower, and it kind of stuck attacking the skeletons, which, you know, it's P.E.K.K.A. doesn't really want to attack skeletons. And we take the tower. All we have to do is really defend his Piggies and just defend for the rest of the game. I wouldn't go on offense here normally at all. I just continue my defense, but I feel like this guy's given up, and I have so much elixir and such a good counter push that I just go in here and we take the game. Alright, game 2 here is against RG, and I put this one in just because you do see quite a bit of RG, and it is important to understand how to beat it. So, right here, he skeletons in the back. I just go for the Goblin Cage to cycle the Evo, because it's usually not a bad play, and opponents usually have to react to the Goblin Cage, because if they don't, there's just a Goblin Brawler who does a ton of damage. So we go try and defend this RG here with 0 damage. We do succeed in that, and now we have a decent counter push, but I'm not really going to put too much in. I am going to poison the Witch, though. And a nice tip with the Witch is if any of your cards do any damage to the Witch, like let's say the Knight got a hit there at the end, it will kill the Witch with the poison. So if your Ice Wizard gets a hit on the Witch, you just poison it and it'll die. So it is good to know that, because there are quite a lot of Witches in mid-ladder, and understanding how to kill them is very important. So we go for Bar Barrel. He does Royal Ghost. It's kind of unfortunate. I do not go for the Evo Cage on top of the RG. Whether that was a good play or not, I don't really know. I just kind of wanted it to have a little bit more HP. So we NATO the Witch to the Goblin Brawler and Knight for 3 elixir instead of like poisoning it for 4. So I'm pretty happy with that. As we get to 10 elixir here, I just bar barrel to force something out. Maybe a fisherman, maybe you know, something. He does go for a rogue ghost, and then I'm thinking here that he might RG, so that's why I'm holding out the cage. And I do just place the cage anyway to get to the Evo for his next RG, considering I have so much elixir, and he's not going to want to put an RG into a Goblin Brawler, even though my cage has cycle. I have the Brawler still there, which will just shred his RG. It does so much damage, and he does now go for it now that my Brawler's dead. But we're just able to cycle back, and I do miss the cage on top of it. But, you know, stuff like that's going to happen, so the big thing is that it's not the end of the world, considering it does still do a lot of damage, and the RG really does nothing. And then we just NATO it in like we did before. This time, obviously, he fisherman's, but we do get that baby dragon, and we just go for a poison on that, get some tower damage. He RGs again. We just go for Goblin Cage right on top there, so that when the Goblin Brawler gets out, it's just going to start punching him immediately. Go for an Ice Wizard just to try and stop as much damage as possible. He still gets that second hit though. And on top of the Witch to get that tower damage, and right here we're up a good chunk of damage here, good like 800, 900. But we go for a Knight. I was planning on going Knight Graveyard, doesn't really matter. I was just trying to pressure, so we just go for a Barbed Barrel Graveyard anyway. And it's really nice that he played his Witch in the middle there. It's not really going to be able to help him defend this graveyard. And we take the game here with the skeletons. So now on to game 3. Okay, game 3 here. This is against a Hog Rider deck, as you can see in this guy's banner. He does have Mega Knight and Valkyrie, so it is a bit weird here. I don't really have a good hand to poke him at all. I don't have a Barbed Barrel, really, or a Goblin Cage to put down in the middle. We just go for a poison on the Ice Wizard for an even trade. And then we get our cage here. And here's something that's I just messed up on completely. The Hog Rider just goes around the Valkyrie like that. You know, I really didn't think that would happen, so we do miss the NATO. Which is our second miss NATO this video, but honestly it's not that bad, and I know I'll get another chance at it again. But against these Hog Rider decks, you really want to have your cage in your hand or your NATO, and then if you have your NATO, just make sure you're getting that timing right and that placement. You'll see me do it a couple times in the rest of the video, but just make sure you're doing that right. And then the cage, it is very important to protect the cage and also try and slow down the Hog Rider, so when it does break the cage, the Goblin Brawler is able to do something. As you can see right here, this guy does go for his Mega Knight, so we have Evo Cage in hand. We're well equipped to deal with this. We don't even need the Evo, that's why I placed it there in the middle there, so I'm just not feeling like I want to play it on top and have it get destroyed, then get Hog Ridered, and then have to spend 3 on the Tornado. I'd rather just stop him from wanting to hog here, and he just doesn't hog. For a graveyard here, because we do have a pretty healthy Baby Dragon and a healthy Goblin Brawler, and he goes for Skarmy in the graveyard, which now I'm keeping in the back of my mind that he has Skarmy for my graveyard, so I'm gonna have to probably NATO that at the end of the game to get some connection. We go for the Hog NATO. He goes for a nice Wizard in the back. I would just poison it. Pretty basic stuff. Any troops like Wizards, Musketeers, when they play in the back, it is a good idea to go poison it, because it will just obviously get you that tower damage, and it's usually an even trade. Sometimes it's a +1 trade, even if they like archers in the back. Poisoning an archer isn't the worst idea in 2x. Not even a terrible idea in 1x, but you gotta know what you're doing and what deck they're running to kind of take that risk there. And even on buildings, it's not bad. But we do NATO the Skarmy, and you get some really good damage he does fireball my Ice Wizard, but we do Evo Goblin Cage, which just destroys the hog, gets no damage. Yeah, like I was saying, we just poisoned the Musketeer. I do hit the King Tower here, but it's not a big deal at all. We just almost done with the game here. And I wasn't planning on graveyarding anyway. It's just Poison Cycle, really, once you get their tower down to 500. If you're really given the opportunity, you could go for a graveyard, but it is really just Poison Cycle, and we just, as you see here, poison. And that's the end of game number 3. On to game number 4. Alright, game number 4 here. This is against Golem, and at the end I do lag out a little bit, but we still get the win. Golem is super common in mid-ladder, and it is very important to know how to deal with these like big beatdown pushes that you will face quite often. Most important thing though is to get that cage up, so you'll see me get the cage up, and it is important to recognize what deck you're going against. Like right here, I already know it's Golem. He's got Lumberjack, he's got Zappies, and then boom, he's got E-Drag. Like it's 100% chance it's Golem. So just space out your things from the E-Drag on defense, and also sure to spread out your troops on defense against these E-Drags. So he goes for Prince, and we just Baby Dragon on top of it. He's kind of spacing our troops there so our Golem Brawler doesn't take as much damage. And against Golem, you really do want to get some damage early game because, you know, late game, you're probably going to bleed a little bit of damage. Your defense is really good, but their offense is very, very, very strong. Now we Golem's in the back, and we just don't really have anything to like hit him on the other side. So we go for an Ice Wizard in the back, which is a, you know, good defensive play. Usually they have lightning or something, and it is kind of annoying, but this guy did not. I could kind of tell once I saw the Zappies. And he goes for the Golden Knight. We just block it. So yeah, we're kind of stopping all the value from the E-Drag and the Golden Knight, stopping them from like chaining on anything. And we get a King Tower here against the Golemites. You can get that there, which is good to know. You can do the same thing with E-Golem. You just can't do the big one. You have to do the medium-sized ones or the little blobs. Those are able to be NATO'd from the tower. Right here, he goes for a Golem, and I just graveyard because Baby Dragon's tanking, and I really need to make up some damage here because I know his Golems are going to start breaking through once we hit 3x. So we still got a minute 30 to go, but it is still a good idea to start getting that damage. We block the Prince, and we try and keep that cage alive so it can deal with the Golem, and we just NATO everything back once the Golem gets in there. And then the Goblin Brawler should just make short work of the Golemites we poison, which it's a, you know, big risk, big reward play, trying to get rid of that E-Drag, and it works. And then I just Knight here because you never know. I just wanted to make sure the Lumberjack didn't get on the tower, and it's better safe than sorry, I guess. So we get a nice Baby Dragon down here with a Knight, and he goes for a Golem in the back. So what we're going to do is we're going to Graveyard because we need that damage, and he just spent 8 elixir. Now you would think that, oh, he defends the Graveyard with something, and then he gets behind the Golem, so it's not a good play, but you can just poison it then. And then that's free tower damage. Again, just getting the Golem in that Evo cage. I'm trying to keep that Evo cage up every time for his Golems because it is doing quite a lot of heavy lifting. And then obviously the Brawler comes out, just takes one out, goes over, takes the other one out. It creates a little bit of split lane too, which, you know, Golem doesn't really want to have to deal with. The Golem's the bridge, don't really know what he was thinking here. We just get a plain cage here, so obviously we don't have the Evo one up, but you don't need the Evo one. And then it starts saying I'm lagging, but like I'm just not lagging. I don't know what it's talking about. Go for a bar barrel, then we just NATO everything back, and then we get our Evo cage down just because it is pretty tanky and it can deal with all these melee units that are coming in here. And then it is important to keep in mind that the Golem Brawler is our best DPS in this deck, so he is crucial to being able to defeat these princes and these golems and these, as well as like the Mega Knights and Hog Riders you might see in Midladder. So he goes for Golem, and my game just like lags out here. But, you know, it doesn't really set us back. We're up so much damage here because we kept chipping away every time he Golem, kept punishing him. And then we just defend with 1 second left, and we take the win on game number 4. On to the last game of the video. So this last game is against Hog 2.6, and I included it in the video because I felt like it was important to know, 1, how to deal with Hog Rider, and 2, just the matchup against Hog 2.6. It's a really good matchup for the splashyard player, and honestly, it's really hard to lose. But it's still important to know how to deal with Hog Rider with the deck, and it is a Hog cycle deck, so obviously it's Hog. And it also kind of applies to one if you ever face against that. Essentially, just the Musketeer is their only counter to air, so it's very important that the graveyard after it's out of cycle, because it will help you 3 damage. Assuming your baby dragon is there tanking for it, because they can't deal with your baby dragon without their musketeer. So he just goes for a Hog Rider here, and then we just NATO it to the King Tower. Getting that King Tower activation is very good against mid-ladder decks, because that extra DPS does come in pretty handy when dealing with tanks like Mega Knight and Golem, and just it can save you some hog hits. Fireballs, so I just go ahead and poison those musketeer, which is just free tower damage in this event. But it's really important with this deck, and 1x elixir is just chipping away at the tower, free tower damage. This Evo cage here is going to be a big nuisance for him because 1, he can't Hog Rider into it, and 2, if he fireballs it, then he's paying elixir essentially to defend a Goblin Brawler, which he's not going to want to do. So just look at all the value we have. So essentially, when you play the cage, you're just like investing for elixir. You're gonna get that kind of people. If they don't want it, you're just gonna get it. So we have a ton of readiness there, and still quite a bit of elixir, enough to go for a graveyard. So we got quite a bit of damage, and then he just goes for like a Hog Rider. He misses it. Or putting it behind the ice wall, and then we just poison the musketeer, and it's almost game over with versus we're up 1,500. Like, actually go for fire, which it's really game over. So yeah, that's the video. Hopefully you guys learned something and can use this when playing Splashyard or really any deck to help defeat these Midladder Menaces that you might come up across.